Hey guys, tonight we begin with a journey back to Renaissance Florence, to a dimly lit workshop where the great Leonardo da Vinci works through the quiet hours of the night. It's 1503, spring has just arrived, and in a modest atelier near the Santissima Annunziata Monastery, something magical is happening. The master is creating what will become the world's most famous smile, the Mona Lisa. But before we dive into this peaceful Florentine night, I just wanted to remind you, if you're enjoying these bedtime stories, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps me know that you're finding these tales useful for your sleep. And hit that like button too, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I love hearing from you in the comments. Let me know where you're re-listening from and what time it is right now. Are you in bed already? Getting cozy on the couch? Maybe some of you are even listening during a late night shift. Whatever brings you here tonight, I'm glad you're with us. Some of you have been asking about the length of these stories. Yes, this one will be about an hour long. Perfect for those of you who need a bit more time to drift off. And for those who fall asleep quickly, well, the story will be here waiting for you if you wake up in the middle of the night. That's the beauty of these tales. They redesigned to be soothing at any point you tune in. So settle in, get comfortable, pull up those covers, and let me take you to that peaceful Florentine night where art, science, and dreams intertwine in the soft glow of candlelight. The church bells of Florence are ringing midnight. The bronze bells of San Lorenzo are striking 12 times. 1. 2. 3. Each strike echoes through the stone buildings, reverberating off the ancient walls, traveling through the narrow streets and alleyways. 4. 6. The sound carries across the Arno River, reaching the hills beyond the city. 7. 8. 9. In the silence between each toll, you can hear the faint whisper of the wind through the cypress trees. 10. 11. 12. Midnight in Florence. The city of art and beauty settles into its nightly slumber. On Via dei Servi, near the Santissima Annunziata Monastery, there's a golden light seeping from a single window on the second floor. While the rest of Florence dreams, this window glows like a lighthouse in the darkness. This is Maestro Leonardo's workshop, his sanctuary, his laboratory of dreams and discoveries. The wooden shutters are partially open, allowing the cool night air to flow in, carrying with it the sense of the city. Bread from the bakeries preparing for dawn, the earthiness of the river, the faint perfume of jasmine from a nearby garden. If you were to climb the worn stone steps, past the sleeping cats curled in doorways, and peer through that glowing window, you would see a sight that captures the very essence of the Renaissance. Candle flames dancing, casting moving shadows on walls covered with sketches and studies. 1. 2. 3. 4 candles burning on the heavy wooden table, their flames reflected in glass bottles filled with mysterious liquids. The sweet scent of beeswax mingles with linseed oil, turpentine, and the earthy smell of ground pigments. Leonardo sits before his easel, a figure both commanding and gentle. He's 51 years old now, at the height of his powers yet aware of time's passing. His hair, once dark as a raven's wing, now shows silver threads that catch the candlelight. His beard, carefully trimmed, frames a face marked by years of observation and contemplation. But it's his eyes that hold you, deep, intelligent, seeing not just what is, but what could be. In his right hand, he holds a fine sable brush, so delicate it seems to float rather than be held. The brush is one of his treasures, made from the winter coat of a Siberian sable, imported at great expense from the far reaches of Russia. With his left hand, yes, that famous left hand that has puzzled and fascinated scholars, he mixes colors on his palette. The palette itself is a work of art, layers upon layers of dried paint, creating a topography of past creations. Francesco, he says in his soft voice, barely above a whisper, yet carrying clearly in the quiet workshop. His young apprentice, who has been organizing brushes in the corner, looks up immediately. Come here, my boy. Look, do you see? Watch how we prepare the blue. This is not just mixing paint. This is alchemy, transformation, magic made real. Francesco, 16 years old, moves closer with the eagerness of youth. He's a boy from the Tuscan countryside, from a small village near Vinci, the same region where Leonardo himself was born. His family sent him to Florence with hopes that he might learn a trade, perhaps become a craftsman. They never imagined he would study under the great Leonardo himself. His eyes sparkle with curiosity in the candlelight, reflecting the flames like tiny stars. We take the lapis lazuli stone first, Leonardo continues, lifting a piece of deep blue stone that seems to hold the night sky within its depths. Look at it closely, Francesco. See how it catches the light? These stones come all the way from Afghanistan, from mines high in the mountains where the air is so thin that men can barely breathe. They travel along the Silk Road, wrapped in silk cloth, protected like precious gems, which indeed they are. He places several pieces of the stone in a small marble mortar, worn smooth from years of use. The merchants bring them on camels through the great deserts, where the sand stretches endlessly like a golden sea. Through Persia, where the poets sing of nightingales and roses. Through Constantinople, that great city where east meets west. The journey takes months, sometimes years. Wars, bandits, storms, all threaten these precious stones. Yet they arrive here, in Florence, to be transformed into the blue of heaven itself. The sound of grinding stone in the mortar creates a hypnotic rhythm. Tap dot 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 dot. Slow and steady, like a heartbeat, like the rhythm of breathing in deep sleep. Each strike transforms the stone a little more into fine powder. The blue dust sparkles in the candlelight, each particle catching the light like a tiny star. As he grinds, Leonardo continues his lesson, his voice taking on the cadence of a storyteller. Patience, Francesco. Patience is the key to everything. The hasty painter creates only crude works. But we ... we are not mere painters. We are philosophers of color, poets of light and shadow. Each stroke of our brush carries centuries of knowledge, generations of masters who came before us. The workshop itself is a wonder to behold. Every surface tells a story. Every object has its purpose. The walls are covered with sketches, hundreds of them, perhaps thousands. Papers of different sizes, some pristine white, others yellowed with age, overlap and intermingle like memories. Here, a detailed study of a horse in motion, every muscle carefully observed and recorded. There, the intricate workings of a human heart, drawn from his secret dissections. Designs for flying machines inspired by his observations of birds, their wings spread in eternal flight across the paper. Water wheels that could revolutionize agriculture. Military fortifications that could make cities impregnable. Studies of faces, old, young, beautiful, weathered, each capturing not just features, but the soul within. Dried herbs hang from the ceiling beams in carefully tied bundles. Lavender from the hills of Provence, its purple flowers now faded, but still fragrant. Rosemary from the monastery gardens, said to improve memory and clarity of thought. Thyme from the wild places outside the city walls, used for both medicine and magic. Leonardo uses these for multiple purposes. Medicine for his patrons, fragrances for his studio, and some say, secret ingredients for his paints that make them glow with inner light. The furniture is simple but functional. A long wooden table, scarred and stained from years of use, holds an array of tools and materials. Glass vessels of various shapes contain oils and varnishes. Ceramic pots hold brushes of every size, from thick house painting brushes to ones so fine they seem made of spider silk. There are knives for mixing paint, rags for cleaning, pieces of charcoal for sketching. chunks of white chalk for highlighting. Everything has its place, yet there's an organic disorder to it all. The creative chaos of a mind always in motion. Outside, through the partially open window, the sounds of nighttime Florence drift in. The Arno River flows with its eternal murmur, a sound that has lulled the city to sleep for centuries. The water moves differently at night, Leonardo has observed, slower, more thoughtful, as if the river itself is dreaming. Occasionally, you can hear the splash of an otter hunting for fish, or the gentle bump of a moored boat against the riverbank. In the distance, an owl hoots from the bell tower of Santa Croce. Hoo. The sound spreads softly through the night air, answered moments later by another owl somewhere in the Baboli Gardens. They're hunting, these nocturnal philosophers, just as Leonardo hunts for truth in his art. Leonardo continues his work with the lapis lazuli, his movements methodical yet graceful. You see, Francesco, this blue is special. It's not just a color. It's the color of the Virgin's robes, the color of heaven, the color of divine truth. In the churches, when people see this blue, they know they're seeing something precious, something that connects earth to heaven. He pauses in his grinding to show Francesco the powder. Look how fine it must be. Like dust, like the powder on a butterfly's wing. Any larger and the paint will be grainy, rough. The secret is in the patience, in the time we take. Time. Such a strange thing. We think we control it, but it controls us. Yet in this workshop, in these night hours, time bends to our will. We make it serve our art. Now he begins the next phase. From a small cabinet, he retrieves a fresh egg, holding it up to the candlelight. The humble egg, he says with a slight smile. Container of life, perfect in its form. The shell, so fragile yet strong enough to protect the life within. I've studied eggs, Francesco. The way the shell is constructed, tiny crystals of calcium arranged in perfect patterns. Nature is the greatest engineer. With practiced movements, he cracks the egg, separating the yolk from the white with the shell itself. The yolk sits in half the shell, like a small sun, golden and perfect. Tempera technique begins here, he explains. The egg yolk binds the pigment, gives it body, allows it to adhere to the surface. The ancients discovered this, Egyptians, Greeks, Romans. Knowledge passed down through generations, teacher to student, master to apprentice, just as I pass it to you now. He pierces the yolk sac with a needle, letting the golden liquid flow into a small dish. But I'm trying something different, something new. Oil paint. Instead of egg, I mix the pigments with linseed oil. The Flemish painters in the north have been perfecting this technique. Jan van Eyck, may his soul rest in peace, showed us the way. With oil, the colors become richer, deeper, more alive. And most importantly, time slows down. The paint stays wet longer, workable, allowing us to blend, to create those subtle transitions that make the painting breathe. As he speaks, he begins mixing the ground lapis lazuli with the oil, adding it drop by drop. The blue transforms, deepens, becomes something almost alive. See how it changes? This is why we work at night, Francesco. In daylight, colors shout. But in candlelight, they whisper. We can hear their true voices. He turns to his easel, where the portrait has been taking shape for weeks now. Even in its unfinished state, there's something captivating about it. Lisa del Giocondo sits in three-quarter view, her body turned slightly away, but her face engaging the viewer directly. She's the wife of Francesco del Giocondo, a wealthy Florentine silk merchant. The commission was straightforward enough, a portrait to celebrate the purchase of a new home and the birth of their second son. But in Leonardo's hands, it has become something more. Look at her, Francesco, Leonardo says, his voice taking on an almost reverential tone. Lisa Gherardini, she was, before marriage. A woman of Florence, of merchant stock, comfortable but not noble, Yet see how nobility comes not from blood, but from spirit. In my painting, she becomes eternal. He dips his brush in the blue, and hesitates, studying the canvas. Where to place this celestial color? Perhaps in the distant mountains. Yes, there, where the earth meets the sky. That place of mystery, where solid becomes air, where reality becomes dream. The brush touches the canvas with infinite gentleness. The sound is almost inaudible, a whisper of bristle against prepared cloth. Yet in the silence of the workshop, it seems to echo. Leonardo works in silence for several minutes, completely absorbed. His breathing slows to match his brushstrokes. In, out, breath and art becoming one. You know, Francesco, he says suddenly, not looking away from his work. When I was your age, I was apprenticed to Andrea del Verrocchio, a great master, tough but fair. He taught me that to paint the human form, one must understand what lies beneath, not just muscle and bone, but the very soul. He sets down the blue and picks up a different brush, smaller, finer. Now he's working on the hands, those eloquent speakers that say so much without words. Lisa's hands are folded, one over the other, relaxed yet purposeful. Hands ... The most difficult part of the human body to render correctly. I've dissected more than 30 corpses to understand their structure. Late at night, in the hospital of Santa Maria Nuova, with only a candle for light and the dead for company. The church frowns upon it, but how else can we understand God's greatest creation? He holds up his own left hand, spreading the fingers in the candlelight. 27 bones, Francesco. 35 muscles. Tendons like the strings of a lute, ligaments like tiny ropes. All working in harmony to create movement, to grasp, to caress, to create. When I was designing my mechanical knight, you remember, the one that could sit and stand and move its arms. I based it all on these studies. The human hand, a machine more perfect than any I could devise. In the corner of the workshop, Salai stirs in his sleep. He's been with Leonardo for over 20 years now, since he was a boy of 10. His real name is Gian Giacomo Caproti, but Leonardo nicknamed him Salai, Little Devil, for his mischievous nature. Even in sleep, there's something impish about his face. His curly hair, which Leonardo has drawn countless times, spills across the cushion like golden silk. Ah, Salai, Leonardo murmurs fondly. Still stealing in your dreams, no doubt. Do you remember, Francesco, when he first came to me? A little ragamuffin from the streets, caught trying to steal purses at the market. His father, desperate, begged me to take him as a servant. But I saw something in those eyes. Intelligence, spirit, a spark of the divine madness that makes an artist. He returns to his painting, now working on the background landscape. This is perhaps the most mysterious element of the portrait. A landscape that seems both real and fantastical, with winding paths, a bridge, and mountains that fade into mist. The landscape behind her, he explains, is not just decoration. It's a reflection of her inner world, the landscape of the soul. See how the path winds? That's the journey of life, never straight, always surprising. The bridge? Connection between past and future, between earth and spirit, between the viewer and the viewed. As he paints, he continues to teach, his voice weaving education with memory, philosophy with technique. In Milan, at the court of Ludovico Sforza, I learned much about the politics of art. The Duke wanted grandeur, spectacle. I gave him that, the great horse, the theatrical productions, the wedding celebrations that amazed all of Europe. But I also pursued my own studies. Late at night, like this, I would work on my notebooks, my investigations into the nature of things. He gestures toward a shelf where leather-bound notebooks are stacked. Thousands of pages, Francesco. Studies of water flow, of the flight of birds, of the movement of clouds. Designs for cities that could withstand siege, for canals that could bring prosperity, for machines that could ease human labor. Will they ever be built? Perhaps not in my lifetime. But someone, someday, will read these notes and understand. The night deepens. Outside, a cat yowls, probably hunting in the alleys, or perhaps courting. The sound is primal, reminding them that despite all of humanity's achievements, we share the world with creatures guided by instinct rather than intellect. Even cats have much to teach us, Leonardo observes. Have you watched them hunt? The patience, the calculation of distance, the perfect economy of movement. I've studied their anatomy too, the flexible spine that allows them to twist in midair, the retractable claws, the eyes that gather light. In my design for a spring-powered car, I used principles I learned from watching cats leap. He picks up a different brush now, loaded with a warm brown. For the hair, he explains, but not just any brown. See, I mix umber with a touch of gold ochre, a hint of red. Hair is never one color. It's a symphony of tones, changing with the light, revealing the character of the wearer. As he paints each strand, he seems to enter a trance-like state. The workshop falls silent, except for the soft whisper of brush on canvas and the occasional pop from a candle flame. Francesco watches, mesmerized, trying to memorize every movement, every gesture. Time passes unmarked. The candles burn lower, their flames occasionally guttering in a breeze from the window. Leonardo periodically stops to trim the wicks, his movements automatic from years of practice. Each time, the light changes subtly, revealing new aspects of the painting. Light, he murmurs, almost to himself. Everything is light. Without it, there is no sight, no color, no form. I've tried to understand it. Does it travel in waves like water, or in straight lines like arrows? The ancients believed the eye sent out rays to grasp objects. But I think light comes to us, enters the eye, paints its picture on the darkness within our heads. He demonstrates with a candle, moving it around the painting. See how the shadows change? How what was hidden is revealed, and what was clear becomes mysterious. This is why I paint with many thin layers, each translucent, each adding to the effect. Like veils, like music where notes overlap to create harmony. A church bell tolls somewhere in the distance. Once, twice, 3 times. 3 in the morning already. The deepest part of night, when the veil between worlds grows thin. They say this is the hour of spirits, Leonardo comments with a slight smile. When ghosts walk and demons tempt the faithful. But I find it the hour of clearest thought. Perhaps because the world is quiet, or perhaps because we're closer to dreams. In dreams, I've seen many of my inventions complete. Flying machines soaring over the Alps, great bridges spanning impossible distances, the human body transparent, revealing all its secrets. He sets down his brush and stretches, his joints creaking slightly. Age, he says ruefully, the great enemy of artists. My eyes aren't as sharp as they once were. My hand sometimes trembles, yet experience compensates. I know now what took me hours to understand in youth. Walking to the window, he looks out over the sleeping city. Florence, he muses, you've been both kind and cruel to me. Here I learned my art. Here I was accused and tried. Here I return always, like a son to a difficult mother. Francesco, emboldened by the intimacy of the hour, asks, Master, tell me about the accusation. People whisper about it still. Leonardo's face grows somber. Ah, youth wants all the stories, even the dark ones. Yes, when I was young, barely older than you are now, I was accused anonymously. Someone dropped a paper in the tamburo, the drum where accusations were placed. They said I had improper relations. It was a lie, born of envy and malice. I was acquitted, but the stain? Ah, Francesco, be careful of envy. It's the poison that kills more artists than plague. He returns to the easel, picking up his palette again. But we transform our pain into art, yes? Every sorrow, every joy, Every experience becomes paint on her palette. Look at Lisa's smile. Do you think it's completely happy? No, there's knowledge there. Understanding of life's complexity. That's what makes it real, what makes it eternal. The work continues, punctuated by teaching, by memory, by philosophical observation. Leonardo tells Francesco about his time in Rome, where he competed with Michelangelo and Raphael for commissions. About Venice, where he designed fortifications against the Turkish threat. About his studies of hydraulics in the canals of Milan. Water fascinates me, he says, now working on the misty quality of the distant mountains. It has no shape of its own, yet shapes everything it touches. It can be solid ice, flowing liquid, invisible vapor. It carves valleys, creates caves, brings life to deserts. In my notebooks, I've drawn water in every form. Droplets, waves, whirlpools, waterfalls. Each follows mathematical laws, yet each is unique. As if summoned by his words, a light rain begins to fall outside. The drops patter against the window shutters, creating their own rhythm. The air becomes fresher, carrying the scent of wet stone and earth. Listen, Leonardo says, pausing in his work. Even rain has its music. Each surface creates a different note. Tile, stone, water, earth. God is the supreme composer, and we're privileged to hear his symphony. Salai stirs again, mumbling something in his sleep. Leonardo glances at him fondly. He talks in his sleep sometimes. Once I heard him reciting poetry, Dante, perfectly remembered. Yet awake, he claims to hate studying. We all have hidden depths, Francesco. Remember that when you paint portraits, look for the person behind the person. The night wears on. Leonardo tells Francesco about his anatomical studies, how he discovered that the heart has 4 chambers, not 2 as Galen claimed. He speaks of his geological observations, how he found seashells high in the mountains, and deduced that the land itself rises and falls over vast spans of time. The church teaches that the world is 6,000 years old, he says carefully, but the rocks tell a different story. Layers upon layers, each representing countless years. But these are dangerous thoughts, Francesco. The truth isn't always welcome in this world. He shows Francesco his technique for creating the sfumato effect, the smoky, almost imperceptible transitions between colors and tones. No lines in nature, he insists. Look at your hand against the candle flame. Where does hand end and light begin? There's a zone of uncertainty, of possibility. That's where beauty lives. The rain intensifies, drumming on the roof. Somewhere, a shutter bangs in the wind. The candles flicker more dramatically now, creating dancing shadows on the walls. The sketches seem to come alive. Horses galloping, birds taking flight, water flowing. On nights like this, Leonardo says, I feel the presence of all who came before. Giotto, who first made paintings live and breathe. Masaccio, who discovered perspective. Brunelleschi, who showed us how to capture space itself. We stand on the shoulders of giants, Francesco. Never forget to honor them. He begins working on the final details of Lisa's face for the night. The subtle shadows around the eyes that give them depth. The almost invisible lines that suggest age and experience without making her seem old. His brush moves with increasing delicacy, each touch considered purposeful. The eyes, he says, are where the soul reveals itself. See how I paint them looking directly at the viewer? Wherever you stand, she watches. This isn't accident or trick. It's understanding of how we see, how we connect. The pupils dilated slightly, suggesting interest, engagement. The light in them suggesting intelligence, humor, secrets. As he works, he shares more technical knowledge. The preparation of canvases, the mixing of varnishes, the importance of letting each layer dry properly. He speaks of pigments, how white lead is poisonous but irreplaceable, how vermilion must be used sparingly or it overwhelms, how yellow ochre comes from the earth itself and carries its warmth. Color has temperature, he explains. Blues and greens cool, reds and yellows warm. In a portrait, we use this knowledge. See how Lisa's face has warm tones? It makes her seem alive, present. The cool background pushes her forward toward us. The church bells ring again. 4 o'clock. The first bakers will be starting their ovens soon. The city will begin its slow awakening. But for now, the night still holds sway. Tell me, Francesco, Leonardo asks suddenly, why do you want to be an artist? Fame? Fortune? The love of beautiful women? He smiles to show he's half joking. Francesco considers carefully before answering. To create beauty, master. To leave something behind when I'm gone. A good answer, Leonardo nods. But incomplete. We're not just creators of beauty. We're seekers of truth. Every painting is an investigation. What is this person really like? How does light really behave? What makes a smile mysterious? These aren't just artistic questions. They're philosophical ones, scientific ones. He continues painting, adding tiny touches that seem to make little difference individually, but collectively transform the work. Patience, he repeats. Each touch matters. Like life itself, small actions, small decisions, but they add up to a whole. Who would think that grinding stones and mixing them with oil could create a woman who will live forever? Salai wakes briefly, sits up, looks around blearily. Still working, master? He asks sleepily. Still working, Leonardo confirms. Go back to sleep, little devil. Dream of the angels you'll never be. Salai grins, showing he's heard this gentle insult many times before, and settles back down. Within moments, his breathing deepens into sleep again. He's been with me through so much, Leonardo tells Francesco. Milan, Rome, now Florence again. Soon, perhaps, we'll go to France. King Francis has invited me. They say he admires my work above all other artists, but I'm old for such journeys. Still, perhaps one more adventure. He falls silent, concentrated on a particularly delicate passage, the corner of Lisa's mouth where the smile begins or ends, depending on how you see it. This is perhaps the most crucial part of the entire painting, the ambiguity that will puzzle viewers for centuries. There, he says finally, stepping back. Not finished. It's never truly finished, but enough for tonight. See how she smiles? But what kind of smile? Happy? Sad? Knowing? Mocking? All of these and none of them. That's life, Francesco. Never one thing, always many things at once. He begins cleaning his brushes, a ritual as important as the painting itself. Each brush is cleaned carefully with turpentine, then washed with soap, then shaped to a point and set to dry. Treat your tools with respect, he advises. They're extensions of your hand, your mind, your soul. A painter with bad brushes is like a knight with a rusty sword. As he cleans, he continues to teach. Tomorrow, we'll prepare more pigments. I'll show you how to make the perfect black from charred grape vines, how to extract purple from murex shells, how to create a green that glows like emeralds. Each color has its secrets, its own personality. You must learn to know them like friends. The rain has stopped, leaving the air clean and fresh. Through the window, the first hints of dawn are appearing, not light yet, but a lessening of darkness. The stars are fading, though Venus still shines brightly in the east. The morning star, Leonardo observes, named for the goddess of love and beauty. Appropriate, no? We've spent the night in service of beauty, though the astronomers tell us it's not a star at all, but a planet like our Earth, covered in clouds, they say, hiding its secrets. Perhaps there are painters there too, working through their night, seeking their own truths. He covers the painting carefully with a cloth to protect it from dust. Shall dry slowly, he says. Oil paint can take weeks, months to fully cure. But that's good. It gives us time to think, to reconsider, to perfect. Fresco painters must work quickly, decisions made in haste. We oil painters can contemplate, revise, evolve. Francesco helps him tidy the workshop, learning even from this simple task where everything belongs, how organization serves creativity. They work mostly in silence now, the deep communion of shared purpose. Master, Francesco asks as they finish, do you ever doubt? Ever think perhaps you're wasting your time? Leonardo pauses, considering. Every day, he admits. Every night. Doubt is the shadow cast by ambition. The greater our dreams, the longer the shadow. But doubt also drives us forward. Certainty is the enemy of discovery. If I were certain, why would I continue searching? He walks to the window one more time, breathing in the pre-dawn air. Look, he says, pointing to the sky. See how the black becomes deep blue, then lighter blue, then touched with pink and gold? That's what we try to capture. Transition, change, the movement between states. Static art is dead art. Even in stillness, there must be the suggestion of movement, of life continuing. The first roosters are crowing now, distant but insistent. The city's daily resurrection begins. Soon the streets will fill with merchants and workers, beggars and nobles, all playing their parts in the great drama of Florence. We should rest, Leonardo says finally. Even creators must bow to the needs of the body. But remember what we've done tonight, Francesco. We've taken earth, ground stones, oils from plants, eggs from chickens, and begun transforming them into something that will outlive us all. That's the real alchemy, the true philosopher's stone. Not lead into gold, but matter into spirit. He looks once more at the covered painting. She'll be here when we return, he says softly, patient as always, keeping her secrets, sharing her smile with the darkness. And tomorrow night we'll continue. Always continuing, always seeking, always creating. As they prepare to leave the workshop, to seek their beds for a few hours of sleep before the day's obligations call, Leonardo places a hand on Francesco's shoulder. You did well tonight, he says. You listened, you watched, you learned. That's all I ask. Be a sponge. Absorb everything. Later, you'll squeeze out what you don't need and keep what serves your art. They blow out the candles one by one, each extinction bringing more darkness until only one remains. In its solitary light, the workshop seems even more magical, more pregnant with possibility. One light, Leonardo muses, can hold back all the darkness in the world. Remember that when times are difficult, one painting, one moment of beauty, one truth discovered, these are lights that darkness cannot overcome. He blows out the final candle. For a moment, they stand in complete darkness, letting their eyes adjust. Gradually, the faint light from the window becomes visible. Not quite dawn, but the promise of it. Come, Leonardo says. Even God rested after creation. We've earned our sleep. They make their way carefully to the door, navigating by memory and the faint pre-dawn light. The stairs creak under their feet as they descend. In the street, a cat slinks by, returning from its nocturnal hunt. The air is cool, damp from the earlier rain, infinitely refreshing after the close atmosphere of the workshop. Until tonight, Leonardo says, and Francesco nods, understanding that this is both farewell and promise. They part ways, Francesco to his small room in the apprentice's quarters, Leonardo to his chambers in the main house. But even as he prepares for sleep, Leonardo's mind continues to work. He makes mental notes. Try adding a touch more umber to the hair. Consider deepening the shadows in the landscape. Perhaps a glaze over the hands to unify the tones. The work is never done, never complete. There's always one more touch, one more refinement, one more step toward perfection. As he finally lies down, the first true light of dawn is touching the eastern sky. Through his window, he can see the great dome of the cathedral beginning to glow with reflected light. Another day in Florence, another day in the life of an artist who refuses to accept the limitations of mortality. Tomorrow, he whispers to himself as sleep finally claims him. Tomorrow, I'll discover something new. Tomorrow, I'll push a little further. Tomorrow, ... But tomorrow is already today, and in a few hours, he'll rise and begin again. The portrait waits, patient and eternal, holding its secrets, sharing its smile with anyone who cares to look, to really see. In that workshop, in that moment captured forever, Leonardo has indeed turned matter into spirit, time into timelessness, paint into poetry. And somewhere in the city, young Francesco dreams of colors and light of knowledge passed from master to student. Of the night when he watched Leonardo da Vinci work and learned that art is not just about creating beauty, but about seeking truth, about transforming the ordinary into the extraordinary, about leaving something behind that says, I was here, I saw, I understood, I created. The workshop now stands empty and quiet, but it's a quietness full of potential, like a held breath before speech, like the pause before music begins. The paintings on the walls, the sketches scattered on tables, the tools waiting to be taken up again, all hold the promise of continuation, of discovery, of the endless quest for perfection that drives all true artists. In a few hours, the sun will stream through those windows, revealing the night's work in full daylight. Perhaps Leonardo will see flaws he didn't notice in candlelight. Perhaps he'll discover new beauties he didn't intend. That's the nature of creation. It always surprises, always teaches, always demands more. But for now, in these quiet pre-dawn moments, the workshop rests. The Mona Lisa smiles in the darkness, keeping her eternal watch, embodying all the mysteries that Leonardo seeks to understand. The nature of beauty, the essence of humanity, the place where body meets soul, where matter becomes spirit, where time stops and eternity begins. This is the legacy of that night in Florence, in the year 1503, when a man with a brush and a vision worked through the darkness, creating light. Not just the light of candles reflected in paint, but the light of human achievement, of the unquenchable desire to understand and create, to leave something beautiful and true in a world that often seems neither. So ended or continued another night in the life of Leonardo da Vinci, artist, scientist, dreamer, seeker of truth. Another night when the ordinary alchemy of paint and canvas became the extraordinary alchemy of art. Another night when one man's obsession with perfection moved humanity one small step closer to understanding itself. The bells of Florence will ring again tomorrow, marking the hours, calling the faithful to prayer, announcing births and deaths, victories and defeats. But in that workshop, time moves differently. There, it's always the eternal now of creation, the moment when brush meets canvas, when idea becomes form, when the invisible becomes visible. And Lisa Gherardini, wife of a silk merchant, continues her transformation into La Gioconda, the joyful one, the mysterious one, the eternal feminine, the question without answer, the smile without end. Through Leonardo's patient work, through nights like this one, she becomes what she was always meant to be. Not just a portrait, but a mirror in which humanity sees itself. Complex, beautiful, unknowable, infinite. So there you have it, friends. Another night in history. Another story to carry you into dreams. I hope Leonardo's gentle brushstrokes in the quiet rhythm of Renaissance Florence have helped you find the peace you need tonight. Remember, if you enjoyed this journey through time, please consider subscribing to the channel. Your support means everything, and it helps me create more of these historical sleep stories for you. Every subscription tells me that these tailies are helping someone, somewhere, find better rest. And don't forget to hit that like button if this story resonated with you, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What did you think of Leonardo's workshop? Have you ever seen the Mona Lisa in person? I've heard that people are often surprised by how small the actual painting is, just 77 by 53 centimeters. Yet its impact is immeasurable. What other historical figures would you like to spend a sleepy evening with? Perhaps Cleopatra in ancient Egypt? Shakespeare writing by candlelight? Mozart composing his final requiem? Let me know your ideas. Also, drop a comment letting me know where you're listening from tonight. It always amazes me how we can all be in different corners of the world, yet here together in this moment, sharing these stories. Whether you're in New York or Tokyo, London or Sydney, Mumbai or São Paulo, or anywhere in between, you re part of our little community of night owls and history lovers. What time is it where you are? Are you tucked in bed? Sitting in your favorite chair? Maybe some of you listen during your commute or while doing late night work. Some of you have asked about the research that goes into these stories. I spend hours reading historical accounts, visiting museums when I can, studying the techniques and daily lives of these historical figures. For Leonardo, I dove deep into his notebooks. Did you know he wrote over 13,000 pages of observations and ideas? Most in that mirror writing I mentioned. What fascinates me most is how modern his thinking was. He was designing helicopters and tanks centuries before the technology existed to build them. If you're new to the channel, welcome. We have a whole library of historical sleep stories waiting for you. From ancient Rome to Victorian London, from medieval castles to Egyptian temples. Each one researched, each one crafted to help you drift off into peaceful sleep while learning something about our shared human past. For those of you who've been with me from the beginning, thank you. Your comments, your suggestions, your simple presence means more than you know. You've created a community here, a safe space where we can explore history together, where we can find peace in the stories of those who came before us. Now, as we close tonight's tale, remember, tomorrow is a new canvas, waiting for you to create something beautiful. Maybe you won't paint the Mona Lisa, but you'll smile at someone who needs it. Maybe you won't invent a flying machine, but you'll solve a problem that's been bothering you. Maybe you won't change the world, but you'll change a little corner of it for the better. Take a deep breath. Let any worries from your day float away like paint dissolving in turpentine. Tomorrow they may return, but for now, let them go. You're safe, you're comfortable, and you're exactly where you need to be. If you're still awake, perhaps think about what we can learn from Leonardo. His curiosity, his patience, his refusal to accept good enough when better was possible. But also remember his humanity, the doubts he felt, the failures he experienced, the projects he never finished. He was brilliant, but he was also human, just like us. The story of the Mona Lisa reminds us that great things take time. Leonardo worked on that painting for years, possibly right up until his death. He carried it with him from Florence to Milan to Rome to France. It was never finished in his eyes. Always one more touch to add, one more secret to embed in those layers of paint. Perhaps that's the final lesson for tonight, that perfection isn't a destination, but a journey. That the joy is in the creating, not just the creation. That every night spent in patient work, in careful observation, in gentle improvement, is a night well spent. So dim the lights now. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. Let the gentle rhythm of Renaissance Florence, the whisper of brush on canvas, the patient grinding of pigments, carry you into peaceful dreams. Dream of candlelit workshops and mysterious smiles. Dream of flying machines and perfect proportions. Dream of a time when art and science were one, when beauty and truth were the same thing, when a man with a brush could capture eternity in a moment. Good night, everyone. Sweet dreams. And remember, tomorrow is another canvas, waiting for your touch. Until next time, this is your host, wishing you the most peaceful sleep and the most beautiful dreams. Thank you for joining me tonight in Leonardo's workshop. Thank you for being part of this journey through history. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your bedtime routine. Sleep well, dream deep, and wake refreshed. Good night, ...